Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today, I have the good fortune to be with Geoff Ketterer, the guy CEOs call when their sales teams are underperforming and they're tired of wasting money on disconnected strategies that don't work. Geoff, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Let's go back in time because you've had an interesting career path. How did you get started?
Crikey. Well, I was a chef to begin with, and then got completely burnt out doing that and decided, because I'd been told by several people I should go into sales, and I don't know why that is. But anyway, against, my better judgment and a number of other things, I decided to do exactly that. So then I spent years selling everything you can think of, from door-to-door energy and cars and B2B services and advertising and you name it. And then 2019, the end of 2019, after a good friend of mine had a heart attack in the office at the age of 40 due to stress and blood pressure, I decided that I probably need to find a better avenue. So transitioned into the online space, where I was fortunate enough to have a really, really successful career. And then more recently, I have transitioned to running RevBoost, where we help people with everything from sales team building, sales team training, but also traffic and conversions and branding and advertising and all kinds of different stuff.
I am sure the longer version of that could probably fill a book somewhere if it hasn't already.
For sure.
You've scaled multiple businesses fast. What were some of the, failures or hard lessons that shaped what you're doing now?
Great question. Probably one of the most recent things, and I kind of talk about this a little bit, is due to a pivot in the marketplace or a change in the marketplace. And one of the lessons I learned more recently was I will never accept a salesperson challenging the leads, right? It's like, that's not your job as a salesperson. Your job is to suck it up and do whatever you can. However, through years of bait and switch marketing and poor coaching and people being scammed, and now with the rise of AI, nobody believes anything is real anymore. So the level of skepticism in the marketplace is at an all-time high. And so what we've found through the teams that we work with is actually there's a lot to be done on the front end of the funnel before somebody gets to your salesperson. And the reason for that is because typically the process is you rely on the salesperson to explain who you are, what you do, how you help, how your unique mechanism works, why you're credible, why you should be trusted. And now that is becoming less and less effective. So what is becoming more and more effective is to take care of those questions before somebody even enters the funnel, so that you are getting people on a sales call who are curious about working with you rather than just curious in general.
Which sounds amazing, and what we all want, right? What mindset shift do you think was the most critical in going from being a hands-on chef, literally putting out fires in the kitchen, to building an 8-figure business, consulting others?
The biggest lessons for me were I got to see firsthand what really good leadership looks like, and I also got to see very firsthand what really bad leadership looks like. And so I made it a determination that I was not going to be like the latter, and I was going to make sure that leadership was at the forefront of everything we do, so that we build not just profitable teams, but happy teams who feel valued.
So let's talk about that because you've been responsible for transforming numerous sales teams. Let's figure out how we know how to know if we need you in the first place. What's the first sign that like a sales team is underperforming, not just on paper, but culturally, which is harder to track?
Usually starts with revenue. Revenue takes a dip or isn't where it wants to be. And interestingly enough, a lot of the time that is about internal culture than anything else. Probably maybe 60% of the time you can put that down to internal culture. If there's a one particular sales rep who all of a sudden starts underperforming, it's not always like it's foolhardy to think that that person just forgot how to sell overnight. It's more likely that there's something going on for them personally or internally that is causing them to be off on their calls, to have bad energy, all of that kind of stuff. So really, really important that culture plays a massive part in building, because a happy team sells more. It's as simple as that. A team that feel valued sells more. So if you can instill that in a team by leading with a duty of care first and foremost, rather than just all stick and no carrot, we have found that tends to get some really good results.
What are the top 2 to 3 mistakes we as CEOs or business owners make when we're trying to fix our sales problems?
Top 2 to 3 mistakes. Only focusing on the sales team, number one, because very often that count, especially today, if you're running the same type of advertising that you were 2 and 3 years ago, there's a really good chance that that advertising is still hitting the audience you want it to. It's just that the audience has changed. So people not recognizing that there has been a monumental shift in the marketplace in terms of trust and perception and things like that. Mistake number one. Mistake number two, not focusing on culture, thinking that it's just all stick, no carrot, that'll do the job. If I whip them every morning, they'll sell more. 100% the opposite is true. And the third thing is probably either hiring people into the role that you shouldn't, or promoting people into the role that you shouldn't. Just because somebody can sell really well doesn't necessarily mean that they can manage a team really well, because people skills are very different to sales skills.
Absolutely. You've helped over 150 businesses scale, and you've said that sales teams can sell without pressure tactics. How
Yeah.
do you build a culture like that?
It starts with skill set and teaching people how to develop trust on the call, which comes from a lot of different things: tonality, pace, cadence. Yes, the words that you use, but actually the words that you use are probably secondary to the others. Um, and, and making sure that you are taking the position as more of a trusted advisor than you are a salesperson. The worst thing you can do as a salesperson is to come across as a salesperson. And the old sort of tactics of you've got to be excited as hell and sharp as a tack, Jordan Belfort kind of stuff. That may well have been effective in the 80s, possibly even 90s. But if now people have a cognitive bias, that means when they hear or see something like that, they instantly say, oh, salesperson. And you want the opposite to be true. You want to be seen as a trusted advisor rather than somebody who's just trying to flog something.
That makes a lot of sense. You scaled Functional Medicine Academy from 7,000 a month to 1 million a month
Mm-hmm.
in 9 months. How do you manage for that type of growth?
You don't. You don't. It was chaotic and stressful, but we got it done nevertheless. And it was due to making sure that like something is always going to break. You can never shore up the defenses where you need them, and you can think that you've done the right job in all the various areas. I can 100% guarantee if you manage to scale the front end that exponentially, the back end will break. Fulfillment will break at some point. So you've just got to be ready with a pipeline of people. So probably my fix to that is make sure that you are constantly recruiting and building a bench of people, so that when something does start to let water in, you can shore up the defenses quickly.
A lot of times, sales and marketing aren't on the same page. What does that alignment actually look like done right in a day-to-day workflow?
Making sure that you have internal meetings with both teams as a collective, not just individuals. Sales and marketing seem to always operate in silos. And sales blame marketing, marketing blames sales, sales doesn't understand what marketing is doing, and vice versa. So if you can get them on the same page and you can actually get everybody to put out their concerns or their challenges, then you can solve them collaboratively rather than individually.
Let's say that our listeners, they've crossed, the six-figure mark in a month. They're doing seven figures a year. Let's say at 100 grand a month, what's usually holding us back from the next level?
At 100K a month, it's probably just volume. You probably just need to increase lead volume at that point. If you've got good leads and they're well nurtured and the salespeople are selling at a reasonable KPI, you literally just need to turn the tap on a bit more.
Awesome. You've got a process for helping business owners reclaim their time while still driving revenue, which sounds counterintuitive. We don't want you to spill all the secret sauce, but give us something. How the heck do you do that?
A lot of it comes down to culture, because when you have a happy team and a self-motivated team, it's not like you have to be in there cracking the whip 24/7. And which is what we found where most managers and CEOs find themselves. They find themselves in a position where like the team don't perform unless I'm haranguing them. So the question then becomes, if we know that to be true, how do I get the team to perform without me haranguing them? And it's to give the sales team ownership of their own results and make sure that you build a culture where missing performance targets is not an option. And again, that doesn't mean that you beat them into submission, but you get them to a point where they are self-motivated to hit those targets for the individual and for the wider team.
What's one overlooked skill or habit that makes a big difference in terms of high ticket performance?
In the specific, you mean specifically as it pertains to the high ticket coaching space, that kind of
Yes.
a,
Yeah.
it's a very different type of sell. I think a lot of people from customer service based sales roles come in and try to be the prospect's best friend. And in actual fact, you are better off adopting more of a leadership stance than you are trying to be their best buddy.
You talk a lot about the mental game, about the mental and emotional beliefs we've got to have to succeed at this level. What's one belief that you had that you've now completely changed?
Hmm. It was probably that. It was probably, if I can just get people to like me, I'll sell more. And the old adage of know, like, and trust is very true as it relates to marketing. It is not true as it relates to sales. The only thing that's really important to sales is trust. That person can know you and they can like you, but if they do not trust that you can get them the result, it is a lost game. So it's all about trust in the sales process.
You've achieved so much success for your clients' businesses and your own. What's your biggest challenge now?
Great question. My biggest challenge is or has been, it's not now, we've got it solved, but it probably has been making a shift to helping people improve the quality of the leads in the funnel through what I call a hybrid social engine. And really developing that process to make sure that the funnel is not just full of leads, because they are certainly not all created equal, but making sure that it's full of pre-sold, pre-indoctrinated, as ready to buy as possible leads. That's been the biggest challenge. Yeah.
Which is what we want, right?
Yep.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
This is going to sound super woo-woo, but the thing I am most passionate about is when I get a message from a client saying we've hit a new revenue level, we've smashed this, the team are amazing. Just anything that relates to a happy client makes me happy. So
What causes are you most passionate about right now?
causes. I am desperately trying to get founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs to recognize that the marketplace has shifted, and just churning through salesperson after salesperson, hoping that you get a unicorn onto the team that can miraculously sell skeptical leads is not the right thing to focus on. You should probably focus on how your marketing is attracting those leads before you start beating the sales team, especially if you had a team that was performing and is now not.
I mean, you've achieved again so much success. What's the mission behind the money? Like what other causes, charities, stuff like that are you bringing with you along the way?
Okay. British Heart Foundation and Macmillan, which is a cancer charity here in the UK. that deals with end of life care.
You've been on hundreds of podcasts. What's a question you wish more podcast hosts asked you?
That's a great question. What do I wish more people would ask me? Holy cow. I'm not sure how to answer that.
What do you want to talk about that I haven't asked you?
I probably want to focus more on getting people to recognize that let me caveat this or explain it. I get called in a lot when people think that their sales team is not working. And when we dig into everything and we look at the ads and the funnels and the VSLs and all the stuff, I've recently found that maybe as much as 70% of the time, it is not to do with the sales team. It is to do with the level of skepticism in the marketplace. So the thing that I am doubling down on and I'm most focused on is helping people build what I call a hybrid social engine, which is a blend of paid and organic traffic that delivers infinitely better leads to your sales team.
That sounds amazing. For our folks watching and listening who want to learn more, where can they go learn more about all things Geoff and everything that you're up to?
All major social medias, so Facebook, Instagram, although I haven't really been super active on Instagram, I am now going to be going forwards. LinkedIn, you can find my stuff in most places.
All right. Well, we know your time's incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate you spending some of it with us. This has been Seth Greene with Geoff Ketterer. Geoff, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.